In this one, I will be talking about Kelly Anne Wolfe and Derek Noonan on CPAC, speaking within Parliament, and as well, I'll be talking about Kelly Anne Wolfe trying to pitch this direct democracy blockchain app that I've already covered in prior videos. And I'll be talking about the polarity of direct democracy versus anarchy. Once we get there, you'll understand the context. And then I'll as well be talking about blockchain technology and something called smart farming. So, first of all, Kelly Anne Wolfe spoke in Parliament on February 16th, 2024, and she is the CEO of an NGO slash CSO called CDDA, otherwise known as Canadian Democratic Defense Association. This was done on February 16th, 2024, and the people beside her are someone named Ashley Brigida, and then Ritchy Marques, Ritchie and Drew McPherson, otherwise known as Drew Zero Illuminatus, and then someone named Damien Spalding are three people that were working on the direct democracy blockchain app. And as well, Kelly basically mentions that the CDDA is launching a campaign for a new political path on the base principles of what she describes as individual liberties, moving in a pathway toward direct democracy. Kelly says we're moving in a collective across the country in an organized effort in a party structure to run independent candidates on every single level of government in Canada. So basically moving within government, if you will, whereas people in what's called the Accountability Project, which is Gordon, Dana Metcalfe, and Ron Clark, are people working outside of the system. So within, so without, if we're going to take that verse from the Emerald Tablet. Then it also says here that Kelly says that the system will be built on modern technology on blockchain so that every Canadian will be able to govern themselves from the palm of their hand, and mentions introducing a form of direct democracy so that there will be ethical compliance on all levels of government. The blockchain is like a giant ledger system, if you will, and there is no privacy with that whatsoever, and direct democracy is literally giving the illusion of self-governance in order to bring forth something that gives out the illusion of freedom and the ideas of policies and bills like that being put right into the citizens' hands. But, if you will, there's no such thing as a free citizen, if you will, and also fact of the matter is that this kind of system in and of itself, especially on a blockchain system, leads directly toward a tyranny, and blockchain is literally the platform for digital ID. So Kelly says that democracy doesn't exist according to our population. Basically, this is the artificial solution to a large problem where the regime and rebellion are one and the same, essentially, like I've said in many videos and so on and so forth. So the Evolve shirt that they have is for Evolve Blockchain, right? There isn't very much here besides a very vague video, if you will, where there's this AI-generated dude here speaking. So now I'm going to read a little bit about the blockchain, coming from Melanie Swan, technology theorist, philosophy department in Purdue University, USA, and she is the founder of the Institute for Blockchain Studies and DIY Genomics. Okay, and this essay is from 2018. Considering the mutual benefits of blockchain and transhumanism, this essay proposes crypto cloud mines as a safe mechanism by which the human mind might transcend its unitary limitations by permissioning partial resources to join a multi-party mind comprised of human and machine minds in a cloud-based environment. Cloud minds could have diverse purposes, including problem solving, addressing future of work issues with Maslow's smart contracts, learning, experience, exploration, innovation, artistic expression, and other personal development activities. Crypto cloud mines could be multi-currency, operating with payment, remuneration, security, and especially ideas as the denominations of measure. For thriving in the future, mind node peers could enter yes and payment channels with one another for collaborative idea development. For surviving in the future, good player behavior could be game theoretically enforced with the simultaneous privacy transparency property of blockchains, together with the immutable peer-confirmed consensus algorithm and audit log checks and balances system. Overall, blockchains might serve as an institutional technology that is the basis for treaties and progress in a multi-species society of human, algorithm, and machine, guiding the way to positive transhuman features, if you say so. So it's basically very much like the streamlining of both voting and banking into one, among other activities on this ledger-based system, if you will. So one of the most pressing near-term challenges is evolving into a multi-species society in ways that support the success of all. This is going to entail agreements such as treaties and enforcement mechanisms that produce good player behavior in a large-scale network environments, including contracts, penalties, and reputation systems, basically a social credit system. The governance systems of the future may be based on game theoretic incentives to coordinate large groups of actors, as opposed to policing and force, which may be practically impossible, costly, and otherwise infeasible. Blockchains are a future class technology that supports these needs. Such distributed ledgers are a new form of smart network and global computational infrastructure that might be used to implement safe, empowering, and enlightening transhuman features. So, almost like a video game where you are trying to get either a high score or certain achievements, if you will. That's pretty much what is implemented into this and what is implemented into like a task-based economy, future of work type of deal, which I have covered in prior videos. And if people have questions, they can feel free to answer. I'll definitely be getting to that a little bit in this video. So blockchain, also known as a distributed ledger technology, is an immutable cryptography-based, distributed, peer-to-peer decentralized network, consensus-driven ledger. Conceptually, blockchain technology is a software protocol for the instantaneous transfer of money and other forms of value, such as assets, contracts, public records, identity credentials, and program states, globally via the internet. Such as Simple Mail Transfer Protocol is an internet-based software protocol for transferring email. Blockchains are a protocol for transferring money. However, the transfer of assets requires a few more bells and whistles than simply transferring files on the internet. Blockchains provide an always-on apparatus that checks asset registration and ownership in real time to make sure that only one unique instance of an asset is transferred, avoiding the double spending problem that multiple copies of digital money might be sent to different parties. Alright, so now first considering surviving, blockchains might help facilitate the next steps in society's evolution in three primary ways. One is the good player argument. This is the idea that mutual survival interests are aligned by using a common infrastructure, since human, algorithm, and machine might all be using the same blockchain smart network systems to access resources, communicate, obtain information, transact, and otherwise conduct their operations. They all have the incentive to remain in good reputational standing to use the network, and this could enforce good player behavior, if you will. And then as well, a second future economics concern is sustenance. So using economics as design principles in blockchain networks might help solve an important outstanding problem: credit assignment. By having a model for tracking and connecting contribution with remuneration, remuneration is often based on asset ownership as opposed to value contribution. Blockchains could remedy this, since the advent of the token economy means a new era of participation in web-based communities. Whereas Web 1 involved the transfer of static information, Web 2, the social web, created the expectation that Website users can interact, like, and engage with content and other users, like social media. Now in Web 3, which is the crypto web, users expect to participate meaningfully in economic communities by being remunerated for contributions such as software code, digital art, and forum posts, and by being able to vote and access resources. The token economy facilitates this as websites issue their own crypto token money supplies. Despite emerging technology volatility, there are over 1,945 Ethereum-based projects as of October 18th. Interesting. Well, this article is from October 18th, so that stat is likely dated, and they might offer a means of solving the credit assignment problem and also facilitate new models of asset ownership and address future of work concerns. Blockchain economies are characterized by open platform business models for large-scale global participation. So essentially this is, again, the pathway toward a social credit system, if you will, and where one is awarded tokens for completing XYZ tasks, and people are all competing for these tasks that are available, essentially. So, and then with the rewards, the digital assets, if you will, they are able to purchase food, water, etc. So, just another overglorified slave system really is what it is. So, as technological unemployment becomes more prominent in the automation economy, jobs being outsourced to technology, transitioning outsourced workers to new situations is a key concern. With cooperative ownership models, outsourced workers might receive shares in the new automated means of production in exchange for job loss. However, early UBI, Universal Basic Income experiments, indicate that unearned free money is unpalatable since it lacks social contact reciprocity features. UBI is another form of the credit assignment problem because it has the same premise that contribution and remuneration should be linked. Blockchain-based Maslow smart contracts might enable individuals to pursue interest and skill development in a structured way that results in certification and new employment or productive use of capacities as the endpoint, and instantiates new forms of the social contract. So you have blockchain 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. 1.0 can be conceived as a better internet, adding features that were not present in the initial implementation, and the functionality includes a payments layer, the ability to send money and assets, and the possibility of engaging in privacy-protected computing with confidential transactions and private messaging, if you say so. Some of the better horse applications are real-time payments and monetary transfer instantaneously on a global basis, automated information confirmation, and secure messaging. Then 2.0 is understood as an institutional technology, a replacement or supplement for brick-and-mortar human-based institutions, and as an enterprise software for transitioning business and government into the digital age. In the future, a substantial portion of the world's assets might be registered to digital inventories and transacted with blockchains. There could be a single set of shared business processes used by multiple parties in industry value chain. Some of the envisioned horseless carriage applications include financial contracts, legal agreements, digital identity solutions, government public record repositories, and voting. And 3.0 understands distributed ledgers as a new species of technology with possibilities that did not previously exist. One implication is a smart network convergence technology of deep learning chains, which is integrated blockchain and deep learning functionality, and some potential car applications include crypto cloud mines, automated fleet management, big health data, asynchronous space communication, and the rapid prototyping of gaming and artificial reality environments. Alright, so I'm going to take this a step further, and if we actually factor CRISPR into the blockchain, we're going to get certain results here which I will be describing. So to give you an example, this organization DNA Ticks here is based in Israel, and they also have a location in California as well. It says DNA Ticks, a cybernetic smart platform providing anonymous and encrypted genetic services, including analysis, storage, and transfer of digitized DNA sequences through a direct-to-consumer platform. The vision. The DNA Ticks genetic ecosystem invites all players in the genetics field to cooperate together to advance genetic applications and solutions. The company's proprietary and open-source technology will be used by developers as well as researchers and institutions to further develop their inventions and services. With the DNA Ticks direct-to-consumer platform, users will be able to test, store, and transfer the data utilizing blockchain technology. And here is the founder and CEO, Ofer Lidsky, an experienced entrepreneur in the fields of software development, cybersecurity, and digital health. Ofer developed innovative software and technologies in the virtual reality, neurobiology, genetics, and education fields, and he's an expert in cybersecurity and cloud storage. So essentially, using that company as an example, and then this link, when or if it loads here, oh, well, there it is, it's loaded. You have this article that I've shown in various videos now, The Future of Blockchain, Human DNA as New Digital Wallets. So essentially, an NFT on the blockchain, non-fungible token, which holds all kinds of data. When somebody says gold-backed NFT, they're just referring to a picture of a gold bar, and this picture of a gold bar might hold different sources of information. So imagine that NFT actually being a DNA strand, if you will. And so essentially those token assets or digital assets of sorts that are awarded to you in a gig competing economy, if you will, or task-based economy, are literally logged right onto your DNA strand into that NFT, if you will. So essentially they want us hooked to a grid, and so Kelly Anne Wolfe proposing this blockchain app, if you will, is really just setting the ground for this kind of sick experiment, if you will. So now I'm going to talk about this thing called We Are the Change, which if you scroll to the bottom, it essentially is a subsidiary of the Canadian Democratic Defence Association, which is what Kelly Anne Wolfe is the CEO of. So essentially here it says that this is kind of like politics. When we have independently elected representatives in Parliament, they can vote based on what they think is best for the people they represent rather than just following what their political party says. It gives everyone a fair chance to have their voice heard and make the best decisions for everyone. So yeah, basically wanting to set up independent candidates across the country. This right here pretty much fits that exact goal, right? And so, like here, right, also at the bottom, it says We Are the Change is a subsidiary of CDDA. We Are the Change is not to be confused with We Are Change, which is Luke Radowski out in the U.S. So these are the references of contact here for this organization. So we have Kelly Anne Wolfe, who I've spoken about numerous videos. Ritchy Marques and Drew McPherson, along with someone who's not here named Damien Spalding, are three individuals that have worked on the blockchain app directly. And then you have Ryan Anderton, Ashley Brigida, and also, yeah, so here's Drew, Zero Illuminatus, or Drew McPherson, Ritchy Marques, and then you also have Ashley Brigida, and then Dave Anderton over here. And so someone named Ryan Kribbe here, if you will. Ryan Kribbe has an interesting kind of connection here because Ryan Kribbe, if you look at this particular picture and you see him, he's basically a boxer trained out of Huff Gym, if you will. And also, this particular patch is something from the Enforcers, which is an LEMC, a law enforcement MC. And so when I say MC, I mean motorcycle club. They essentially, their members include police, ex-police, and military and ex-military and others. So the Enforcers Motorcycle Club was formally established in spring of 2000, and the club's founder, Roscoe, began motorcycling at the age of 8 on a Honda 50 and had been riding since. As a teenager, Roscoe dreamed of belonging to a large motorcycle club. Influenced by his grandfather who had ridden his entire life, Roscoe followed his dream. At the age of 19, Roscoe joined the largest club in the world, the Police Force, and after 15 years of hardcore street-level police work, Roscoe continued to pursue his dream and decided to form his own club, the Enforcers MC. Our colors are taken from the swordsmen from the medieval days. They were the enforcers of the law then, hence Enforcers MC. The Enforcers Motorcycle Club consists of, but is not limited to, members of current and retired law enforcement officers, armed forces personnel, public safety personnel, and some good friends who complete the family of our club. Our colors are derived from the medieval swordsmen. They were the enforcers of the law. Each color depicted in the club's emblem or colors carries its own significance. Silver represents the badge, red represents the blood lost in battle, and black represents the mourning of our fallen officers and servicemen. We wear our colors to respect and remember our brothers and our members. Our motorcycle club promotes an enjoyable, friendly atmosphere and the opportunity to meet and ride with those who love to ride motorcycles in a safe manner when we are on our leisure time. We are willing to extend our hand in friendship to whoever is willing to accept it. Okay, and then there are different chapters all over, and so the only chapter that I know of in Canada is actually in Toronto, and the rest are throughout the United States. So, the anatomy of a motorcycle club explained here. So, it says here that most outlaw clubs, including the infamous Banditos, who were involved in the deadly Waco shooting at Twin Peaks restaurant, also wear a 1%er badge to signify they are the 1% of bikers who live outside the rules of society. And some LE clubs, including the Blue Knights International Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club, which boasts 250 chapters in 28 countries, wear a 99%er patch to show that they follow the law, if you will. I really take that with a grain of salt and would like to know a little bit more about the difference between 99%ers and 1%ers and where there are common grounds besides them riding motorcycles. So that's kind of what I got there. And so here you have Huff Gym, which we saw that Ryan Kribbe has trained at. And so with Huff Gym in particular, they offer a full range of services for fitness enthusiasts and boxing contenders of all ages and skill levels, whether your goal is to improve your physical, emotional, and mental well-being or to elevate your athleticism to competitive ranks. Huff training includes a unique mix of group fitness classes and tailored one-on-one boxing, kickboxing, and weight training, instruction with passionate professional coaches. Huff training is complemented by a full line of revitalizing nutritional health products and quality transcending Huff brand gear and apparel. And it takes Psalm 144:1 from the Bible, praise be to the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle. I guess that's appropriate for boxers, of course. So, actually, this organization, Huff Gym, I remember seeing it very early on in either 2020 or 2021 when a police officer of Peel Region by the name of Paul Brown, I think, ended up showing up and refused to enforce any sort of coercive measures, if you will, taking place. And he hugged various patrons of the gym. And I haven't really looked into that to determine whether that's, a psyop or not, kind of a thing. But I think this gym location is somewhat interesting because of what is connected to it. And so it is on the southeast corner of Huron, Ontario and Queensway in Mississauga, Ontario, and was established in July 1996. HUF stands for Huron Ultimate Fitness. And so these are the people who run the gym, to my knowledge. And then as well, some of the organizations and such that they partner with is interesting. So Boxing Ontario, while we saw Ryan Kribbe is either part of Boxing Ontario or was at one of their events and has trained at Huff Gym. And then we have Lighting Up Dark Corners, which is interesting because that is a sort of initiative, if you will, by Sarah Chunian of Canadian Frontline Nurses, and I have already done a video on Canadian Frontline Nurses and as well spoke about how Kristen Nagel, who is the co-founder of Canadian Frontline Nurses, is involved in the biodigital convergence and blockchain-related projects, if you will. So Ritchy Marques is involved in United Freedom Convoy NFT. He runs it, and he has partners within Canadian Frontline Nurses and CAERS. And some of the advisors include Kristen Nagel and someone named Audrey Domingo. This was in my video, Biodigital Convergence, Ball and Chain. So people can check that out if they are curious. And as well, so this particular march is on February 17th, 2024. So that's a day after the Parliament shenanigans, if you will, where Derek Noonan and Kelly Anne Wolfe each spoke. And Kelly Anne Wolfe, like I said, she had Ashley Brigida and Ritchy Marques beside her. But in particular, Derek Noonan was with someone named Chris Dacey, which is someone that always seems to be around where there's always crisis, conflict, and always needs to be placed in the appropriate place from what I've seen. So basically in this march, they just shout Trudeau must go over and over again. And they stop at a CTV building and just start, chanting CTV sucks, CTV's fake news, tell the truth, etc. And some of the people that were present were Omari Taylor, Karima, Donald Smith, Trina Sipico, Derek Bellamy, Gordon Berry, and Desi Ranks. And so, as we could see by this particular photo, which was taken on February 17th, you see Derek Noonan with Trina Sipico, who I've spoken about in a couple prior videos. And also somebody named Chris goes on at about an hour and 59-minute time mark. He mentions a blockchain voting app, if you will, that he was working on for 10 years, and supposedly he was beaten by Kelly Anne Wolfe, or well, she's just a figurehead face, but Chris was beaten by this app coming out and being launched. And also somebody named Johnny Rowe ends up speaking. Johnny Rowe is one of the quote-unquote Wellington Street regulars, if you will. So this is BitVote. This is exactly what this Chris guy was talking about. What happens is Johnny Rowe says in his words that the technology is changing and that they won't be able to avoid it. And to me, that just sounds like he's justifying moving in the direction of the Singularity as well as promoting the blockchain. So, in this particular article, I'm just going to read a couple of paragraphs here. From 2020 to 2040, from New Normal to Singularity. So basically what happens is New Normal, for lack of better words, is describing 2020 to somewhere about where we are now. And people are used to being in a consistent state of crisis, whether that has to do with what they'll call climate change or the fear of sickness and that sort of a thing, where coercive measures come into place. So they get people trauma bonded, if you will, and then the next age, if you will, kind of like an age of industrialization, they move into one of robotics, and not only robotics, but amalgamating biological life with AI and digital. So for almost 20 years, Ray Kurzweil, which is one of the engineers at Google, he has forecasted that the year 2045 will mark the emergence of the transhuman singularity. And prior to his prediction, Hubbard, which is Barbara Marx Hubbard, that's who this article is about, a famous transhumanist, if you will, and also New Age Gnostic. Hubbard foretold that 2020 would mark the year of the global consciousness shift that would technoetically thrust human evolution into the transhuman singularity of 2045. During their speech at the 2015 IONS International Conference, Hubbard proposed that we develop a new world purpose by 2020, and the date has been picked by some other people, such as Stefan Dinan, who is a former director of the Esalen Institute's Center for Theory and Research, a former director of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and the author to the foreword to Hubbard's Birth 2012 and Beyond. In her ION speech, Hubbard postulated that if we took the next 5 years and said our purpose would be by 2020, we could connect enough of the co-creators in health, education, economics, in every sector of human endeavor, in every culture, and show up by 2020 as the beginning of the next stage of human self-evolution. Then we would become the Gnostic human. We would become humans that actually incarnate the genius of evolution, the supramental powers of evolution. Wow. So, kind of mind-blowing there, that's for sure. And also, it's interesting to note that these people that preach about freedom, if you will, are actually working toward the exact same agenda that politicians and different think tanks and people like Crystal Vander, else the Policy Horizons, are working toward. Just the exterior image is a little bit different in order to suck you in, and of course there's always more of a propagated effort placed into any sort of fake rebellion than there is any sort of regime. So, this is Derek Noonan over here, and then I'll just click at about 14 minutes so you can get a visual of this Christopher Dacey fellow over here of Dacey Media. Freedom Convoy representatives Derek Noonan and Chris Dacey hold a news conference on Parliament Hill to comment on the recent federal court ruling on the government's invocation of the Emergencies Act and to discuss the future of their movement. On January 23rd, the federal court ruled that the federal government's decision to invoke the act in early 2022 to clear convoy protesters was unreasonable and led to an infringement of charter rights. The group and its supporters are expected to congregate on Parliament Hill this weekend, marking 2 years since the first protests in 2022. Well, this is really just a fluff story, and a distraction is really all it is, because the truck convoy was a dress rehearsal for martial law, 1, and 2, it was also an advancement of the biodigital convergence in terms of the so-called crypto funds, if you will, that were taken from people, when really all that is just a way for investment firms and tech companies to experiment with their technology, and for a way for policymakers to experiment with different policies in future to implement revolving around a blockchain system, if you will. So Derek Noonan basically describes this, what I just described in this paragraph, as a hollow victory, and I wouldn't even call it that. I'd just call it a distraction, frankly. And across the country, there will be remembrance for what happened on the 17th, is what he basically says. And so that's when you had the Saturday protest on the 17th, if you will. And Chris Dacey is an Ottawa resident and is well part of the Wellington Street Regulars, just like the Johnny Rowe fellow that I mentioned. And Derek suggests an independent and electable Senate, revisions of the Privy Council and revisions of the Crown, and asks if we want to have parliamentary-based democracy. And he also mentions priorities given for the censorship bills and no priorities for housing veterans, fixing housing for First Nations, clean water for First Nations, poverty, and how children are educated in school, and opiate-related issues. And also Parliament Hill is where events occurred on the 17th, and he wants apologies from all who voted in favor of the Emergency Act and for freezing individual accounts. So again, more distractions and placement of emotions and anger toward different things that really distract from the real issues at hand. So here actually you have Gordon James Barry, who did a live stream, and Derek Noonan himself also did a live stream, but has since deleted his. And so Gordon refers to the CPAC interview as the quote-unquote debacle. He doesn't mention names, but it's pretty much implied that he's speaking about Derek Noonan and Kelly Anne Wolfe. And he also doesn't like that they mention that they're there on behalf of the Freedom Convoy or Freedom Movement, and that they're speaking on behalf of a group. You would want to consult with the group first, so that at face value, I definitely do agree with Gordon in saying that. And he also says it's the same thing as a politician saying that they represent you in the House of Commons and then doing something different that they don't want you to do anyway. And he claims it angered him and he felt betrayed and disgusted. And to quote him, politics and freedom is like oil and water. Absolutely true in terms of the statements that are made. However, Gordon is just on a different end of the agenda, if you will, than Kelly and Derek. So this particular image I'm going to show while I actually read something from Britannica, and the link on Britannica will be in the video, description, of course. So in terms of one ruler, you have either a monarchy or tyranny, and then with many rulers you have direct democracy versus anarchy. So let me explain Aristotle's views here. It says government, Aristotle says, must be in the hands of one, of a few, or of many, and governments may govern for the general good or for the good of the rulers. So correct is the general good, and then deviant is just good for the rulers. So government by a single person for the general good is called monarchy, and for the private benefit is tyranny. Government by a minority is an aristocracy, and if it claims at the state's best interest, and oligarchy, if it benefits only the ruling minority, if you will. Oligarchy is like the rich ruling, if you will. And popular government in the common interest, Aristotle calls polity. He reserves the word democracy for anarchic mob rule, if you will. And if a community contains an individual or family of outstanding excellence, then Aristotle says monarchy is the best constitution, but such a case is very rare and the risk of miscarriage is great, for monarchy corrupts into tyranny, okay? Which is the worst constitution of all. Aristocracy in theory is the next best constitution after monarchy because the ruling minority will be best qualified to rule, but in practice Aristotle preferred a kind of constitutional democracy for what he called polity, in a state in which rich and poor respect each other's rights and the best qualified citizens rule with the consent of all. So this is kind of, it's not exactly the same thing as a direct democracy, but it's close leaning in that category, if you will. So if I replace the word rulers for freedom fighters, if you will, then you have the direct democracy as Kelly Anne Wolfe and Derek Noonan, and those supporting that stupid blockchain app, essentially. And then those that are moving forward in something called the Accountability Project that I have mentioned in a video or two ago. You have an anarchy, if you will. These are just people outside of the system, if you will, going to police stations in that particular case, I believe. So they are confronting the system and are outside of it, if you will, whereas Kelly is trying to bring independent candidates within, if you will. So now I'm going to be talking about smart farming, if you will. And so the reason why I am doing this is February 24th. These are protesters protesting all over Europe. And so I just think that they are also playing into the hands of destructive forces that, you know, want our destruction, essentially. And so by them essentially roaming the highways or roaming the streets, however, I've not followed the footage too closely, but it's a similar premise to the truck convoy in Canada. They're essentially stopping farming in general, and as well they are slowing down production and the movement of resources and goods and services, essentially, and are stifling the trucking industry in Europe. So what is smart farming? According to the International Standards Organization, smart farming refers to using modern information communication technology and data analytics in agriculture, and if done right, it will optimize and increase the efficiency of food production, improving sustainability, and therefore supporting biodiversity and planetary renewal, and help eliminate food waste. A recent ISO report defines smart farming as a data-driven, principled decision-making in agricultural and food value chains occurring as multi-objective optimization in the context of global volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Built around advanced technologies such as agricultural drones, robotics, and Internet of Things sensors, smart farming offers a global vision of modern agriculture. It seamlessly connects the entire food value chain, linking systems through standardized data formats. Smart farming is data-driven, efficient, and sustainable digital agriculture. Heightened connectivity unlocks the potential of precision practices such as variable rate fertilizer application, soil monitoring, yield mapping, and livestock monitoring. Smart farming technologies collect data about crops, soil conditions, weather patterns, and more. The data is then analyzed to inform decisions that lead to more efficient uses of resources like water, fertilizers, and crop protection agents. This efficiency maximizes output while minimizing waste. And so this is new joint committee of quantum technologies, if you will. So the International Electrotechnical Commission and the International Organization for Standardization announced establishment of a joint technical committee on quantum technologies on January 11th, 2024 in Geneva. So quantum technologies have immense potential to address today's global challenges, so it is crucial to build a solid foundation for collaboration. International standards play a pivotal role in laying an essential common ground to accelerate the development and adoption of quantum advancements in various industries and applications. Catalyzing the quantum revolution requires a shared language. Standards provide the framework to turn diverse quantum efforts into a unified force, driving progress, ensuring reliability, and paving the way for a quantum future that is secure, interoperable, and globally accessible, says Sergio, the ISO Secretary General. While standards are already being developed for some aspects of quantum technologies, there is a pressing need to have a coordinated international approach to streamline technical contributions and maximize their impact, ensuring greater coherence in the market, explains Philippe Metzger, which is the International Electrotechnical Commission Secretary General and CEO. And the scope of the new ISO-IEC Joint Technical Committee is to develop standards in the field of quantum technologies, and more particularly quantum computing, quantum simulation, quantum sources, quantum metrology, quantum detectors, and quantum communications. South Korea will assume the chair position. The British Standards Institution, the IEC and ISO member for the UK, will hold the secretariat. Quantum technologies can unlock solutions to address the greatest societal challenges. As the secretariat, BSI is looking forward to bringing our wealth of expertise in committee management to this. We are committed to leading and driving the development of international standards to guide the evolution and integration of quantum technologies, fostering innovation for the benefit of industries and society globally, says Scott Speedman, the Director General, Standards, BSI Secretariat of this new committee, Quantum Technologies. Quantum technology is the second generation of technologies that harness the power of quantum mechanics to create advanced tools and devices that promise to revolutionize how we solve complex problems and secure information across a range of sectors, including information technology, communications, healthcare, energy, trade, sustainability, education, and research, ushering in a new era of technological progress while driving rapid financial growth. So here is the committee in particular, and it says here, so they have yet to find a manager. However, the Secretariat is the British Standards Institution, and the scope includes standardization in the field of quantum technologies, including quantum information technologies, computing simulation, metrology, sources, detectors, and communications, and fundamental quantum technologies. JTC will coordinate the results of these efforts with relevant committees and subcommittees that have within their scopes the development of specific sector-based applications of quantum technologies. So that is the specific technical committee that was recently set up. And so now I'm going to read a little bit about smart farming, if you will. So in particular, it says, and I gotta scroll up, that throughout human history, agriculture has undergone a series of progressive transformations based on ever-evolving technologies in an effort to increase productivity and profitability. Over the years, farming methods have evolved significantly, progressing from agriculture 1.0, which relied on primitive tools, to 2.0, which incorporated machinery and advanced farming practices, and subsequently to 3.0, which emphasized the mechanization and employed intelligent machinery and technology to enhance productivity levels and to further automate and increase agricultural productivity while minimizing agricultural inputs and pollutants. A new approach to agricultural management based on the concept of the fourth industrial revolution is being embraced gradually. This approach is referred to as Agriculture 4.0 and is mainly implemented through the use of the Internet of Things technology, enabling remote control of sensors and actuators and the efficient collection and transfer of data. In addition, fueled by technologies such as robotics, AI, quantum sensing, and four-dimensional communication, a new form of smart agriculture called Agriculture 5.0 is now emerging. And it can exploit the growing 5G network infrastructure as a basis. However, only 6G Internet of Things networks will be able to offer the technological advances that will allow the full expansion of Agriculture 5.0, as can be inferred from the relevant scientific literature and research. In this article, we first introduce the scope of Agriculture 5.0 as well as the key features and technologies that will be leveraged in the much anticipated 6G Internet of Things communication systems. So, in particular, it says here that the data revolution is underway, and so with this being said here, it says that, sorry, I kind of lost my place a moment. It says that agriculture in and of itself is and always will be transformed by new technologies so as to move to a higher level of both productivity and profitability. This section traces the evolution of agriculture from traditional farming to agriculture 4.0, in which data-driven technologies are used to optimize farming operations. Then we investigate the potential of Agriculture 5.0, which aims to employ even more sophisticated technologies to improve the productivity, sustainability, and profitability of the agriculture industry. So we're going to move down to section 4.1, and I will go over some of those pictures and such in here afterward. I've just copy and pasted them to make life a little bit easier. So 4.1, using blockchain technology, all sensor measurements can be recorded on a tamper-resistant decentralized ledger, enabling secure, transparent, and reliable record keeping. The collected data can be analyzed using AI-based technologies such as machine learning algorithms, which can efficiently process and analyze the data to extract valuable insights, patterns, and trends. And by employing quantum sensing and computing, blockchain, and AI, farmers will be able to acquire more precise and comprehensive data, thereby enhancing the effectiveness and productivity of smart agriculture. And then 4.6 here. In Agriculture 5.0 ecosystem, a decentralized system for secure transactions can be developed by combining the strengths of quantum communication, AI, digital twins, and blockchain technology with the 6G Internet of Things networking infrastructure. In such a system, quantum communication, utilizing quantum mechanics principles, can provide tamper-proof communication channels. With the integration of quantum communication and blockchain facilitates efficient, accountable, and transparent transactions, if you say so. Moreover, the additional employment of AI and digital twins enables timely identification of threats, enabling proactive measures to be taken. And in this context, 6G networking combines current and emerging technologies from the excuse me one second here, from the physical to the application network levels, creating a fully digitized and unified interface among users, services, computers, sensors, and smart objects in response to the new era's challenges. In the areas of mobile broadband, end-to-end latency, geographical coverage, and mass connectivity, new horizons are opening, setting the foundation for the next generation of the Internet of Things. So, in particular, Here I just want to go over something very briefly, is that the concept of digital twins is not new. It was born at NASA in the 1960s as a living model of the Apollo mission. You fast forward to 2022, Singapore became the first nation in the world to clone the entire island into the virtual world. So this is what they call twinning, which I have gone over in my prior videos, which will be linked in the description, of course. The European Commission's flagship initiative, Destin-E, or Destination Earth, aims to develop a highly accurate digital model of the Earth with an initial focus on the effects of climate change and extreme weather events, their socioeconomic impact, and possible adaptation and mitigation strategies. So an entirely fake scenario, if you will, that they then either play off of in order to bring out new technology, or an entirely fake event, if you will, in order to create a sort of digital copy of XYZ event. So here is just like a visual image for farming and how it works. You have your crop with sensors as the platform and software data, so that is the blockchain, if you will, and then AI makes the decisions, which implements whatever action to take place, and the data that is held in particular on these sensors would be stuff like weather patterns, or whether like a plant's growth stage, or whether it needs more or less water, sunlight, that kind of a thing. So this in particular here is a picture that shows sensors on a plant with its specific needs, if you will, and then a robotic system to tend to those needs. And this is basically the era from 1G to 6G. So this is just, you know, from 2025 to 2030 is when they plan on bringing out some of this 6G stuff, and possibly even 2024. And then, yeah, so, and then you have 6G, Internet of Things technology in the agricultural sector, if you will. These are just different forms of technology and the goals and mandates of them in and of themselves. So within the 6G Internet of Things, you have quantum sensing, communication, computation, digital twin technology, blockchain, artificial intelligence, etc. And so then you have as well what is enabled by the 6G Internet of Things technology. So this is exactly the direction that they are moving in, where things become more automated. Humans' jobs are replaced by robots, and humans are gradually amalgamated into these digital systems and with digital technology in and of itself, thereby blurring the lines of what is biological and what is digital, and as well blurring the lines of reality, if you will. So, because a lot of this stuff is marketed through a lot of the occult, with anything revolving around Gnosticism, or as well the 5D New Age. And when you think about the New Age and the QAnon type stuff, you have the quantum financial system, which is the blockchain, if you will, and the supposed hero, if you will, whether that is Donald Trump or Putin, or in the case of the New Age, you have the Galactic Federation or Ascended Masters, and people are waiting for this ascension, if you will, to the 5D. 5D rhymes with 5G, might I add. So, therefore, what I'm saying is this ascension process is actually more like a descending process, 5 dimensions downward, as I like to say, where you're gradually amalgamated into a digital system, and with a digital system and digital parts, if you will, thereby blurring the lines of reality. So I'm going to close this one off by thanking James Scott for a large portion of the information that I have presented in this video, and also as well that we need to form ethics committees and go door to door and have in-person conversations with people, informing them of what is going on and how these changes are taking place, as there are various manners in which this is happening, from whether we're talking about biobanking toward cybernetic either implants or prosthetics and that sort of a thing, or moving toward a task-based economy or gig economy, if you will. We need to have these discussions with each other so that people are truly aware, because what happens is controlled opposition, like the freedom movement, just has people focusing on certain very small aspects, but not the big picture ever. And essentially as well, the way that messages are delivered on top of that are delivered in a way that just makes one sound crazy rather than knowledgeable. And so this is why you have professional gatekeeping, if you will, where different mantras are repeated, such as 15-minute cities, or digital ID, or the coercive medical measures, if you will, which that's definitely an understatement for a term. But it's just about compartmentalizing information and keeping people not in the know and keeping people in a perpetual state of fear where they're not really actively trying to stop this biodigital convergence, transhumanism, singularity agenda. So once again, thanks for watching this video, and if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to comment on the YouTube channel or find me on Facebook at Matt Unseated. There's no "the" in between, and they can personally message me if they so desire. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and take care of yourselves.